You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Horror Ramblings Podcast, the show about all things horror. We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Horror Ramblings Podcast, the show about all things horror. Today's show is brought to you by Hypnosil, the sleep-repressing pill that everybody needs. How are you today, Stephen?
Doing all right. I did not use my Hypnosil last night. I had a lot of great dreams, so I'm going to pass on Hypnosil for right now. My dreams are pretty awesome.
Yeah, I guess if you have insomnia from headaches or from nightmares or things like that, maybe Hypnosil would be good for you, but
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. I think the side effects might outweigh the benefits.
That's true. That's true.
I guess it depends on where you live. If you're living on Elm Street, then maybe Hypnosil's an idea.
Probably best if you use it if you live around that area for reasons we won't say, but just know it's probably in your best interest.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I live a street over from Elm Street in my town, and all I have to do is add one number. God, I'm dumb today. Apparently, all I'd have to do is add one number to my address, and I would have the same address as Freddy.
Nice.
So it's always funny when I dress up as Freddy because all the kids are like, "Aren't you supposed to be a street over?" And then I chase them to said street, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. How you doing today, Steven?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I am so thrown today. I move stuff around in the office.
Mm-hmm.
So if I sound off or I sound like I don't know what I'm looking for, you know why.
Yeah, it's different looking at your background. I know the audience can't see it, but it's a new view for me. So
Yeah. I wish that I had the ability to turn the desk and put it at the wall because I have a lot of really cool artwork.
Mm-hmm.
I love looking at the posters and seeing all the posters that you get, and as you add to your collection, because I think when we first started recording, I think you only had like those two posters.
Yeah.
The two at the top there. So you've added a few, and I thought you had 8 the other day, but I couldn't see the one behind you.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, you're adding to the collection, and I can't wait for you to. I know you said you were going to need more wall space because of the Chucky posters and everything, but I wish I could, like I said, turn it because you get to see, you get to just see all the boring stuff behind me, like some of my movies, and that's about it. I get to see at least some cool posters and stuff, but I have some really cool artwork that I wish you could see. The one throws me off though because it's a great piece. It's got Freddy, Leatherface, Jason, and Michael Myers on it, but it has one that just. He's a cool character, but the movie was just not as popular.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the miner from My Bloody Valentine.
Okay, yeah.
He's a cool villain. He really is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just he's right in the middle of these guys, and I'm like, I feel like you're not supposed to be there. It's like in Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. Like that's what makes me think of when I see it.
You know, that could be a fun episode that we could discuss. Are I guess horror villains that never got their chance to shine like others, but were actually really interesting, or could be more interesting.
I would actually really like that because there are a lot out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it kills me because sometimes there's great villains in movies that are not as good as they should have been.
Sure.
Perfect example, and I might get some heat for this, and I don't know why this character's been on my mind lately. Maybe it's because I saw something on TV about it, but the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers. They did the first two, and the first two are okay films.
Mm-hmm.
The Creeper's a cool villain. The first 2 films are great films as far as, like, they're watchable.
Yeah.
And you can get some joy out of watching them. The third one, just, blech. I tried to like the third one, and I was just like, there's nothing about this that's really all that there's too much going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then they did a remake, and they did a remake because the guy that was associated with Jeepers Creepers, who created it, he's a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
And I won't get into all the details, but I feel like they could still stay fairly true to the source material and maybe just add some more to it. You know, some horrible people create some of the art that people enjoy.
Yeah.
And I feel like that art should still, as weird as this sounds, I feel like in some cases that art should still exist to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't let the people get credit. It's just like the dad in Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
You know, am I never gonna watch Beetlejuice again because that guy's a piece of garbage? No, I'm gonna watch Beetlejuice.
And that's really difficult considering he is in a lot of popular movies. Ferris Bueller, don't forget that. He was
Yeah.
a great foil for Ferris, but as you said, he's not a really good person.
I'm not gonna lie. I remember seeing him in a bunch of stuff, and then I hadn't seen him in anything for a long time, and that's what prompted me to actually search for him because I was like, you know, I always thought he was good at performing in the films that he was in, and I'm like, whatever happened to this guy? And then I read about him, like, wow, that's nuts.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just like the Kevin Spacey stuff. I like Kevin Spacey as an actor. Do I like him as a human being? Not so much.
Well, I have a similar situation with Bill Cosby because I think The Cosby Show is probably one of the greatest sitcoms ever made, and everything about him just, it hurts the perspective of the show despite all the good that it did. And while he is a prominent fixture of the show, I feel like that takes away from all the other performers in the show who also give it their all and do fantastic jobs. Like, I wouldn't want to degrade or belittle Felicia Rashad and her performance as Claire, all because of the shit Bill Cosby did, because she owned that role. She did her damnedest in that role and just knocked it out of the park. And it really becomes difficult to try and separate art from the people. And you know, I can understand arguments from both sides, so I feel like it's at your discretion. If you can separate it, go for it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's just, it's so damn hard because, and I'll even agree with you on The Cosby Show because I remember 2, 3 in the morning, nothing would be on and they'd have reruns of it on. And I'd watch it.
Yeah.
He's in a movie with Robin Williams. I think it's called like Jack.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I like him in that movie. But then you hear about all this stuff that these people do, and like you said, it's hard to separate the actor and the characters that they play, and it's a sucky thing. I feel like as bad as it sounds, if someone were to play like a horrible human being, perfect example. And I hate this because I can't remember her name. The one woman from Game of Thrones who plays the queen.
You're talking about Cersei?
Cersei, yeah.
Lena Headey.
Thank you.
Got it.
Thank you. She is actually a really nice person, but she played such a monster that people tell her all the time that she's a bitch and everything else. And she just tells those people, well, that just means I did my job right. Now, if not to say that this would happen, but if there was to be a news story that come out about her doing terrible things, I feel like some people would be like, well, that's why she played such a good villain.
Yeah, sure.
Like, people just have this negativeness that they want to see in other people. And don't get me wrong, the people we've talked about are complete crap.
Well, it's like you say about the negativity, I feel like that's what people are always searching for. They want the negative despite so many positive things, and people are always talking about, why is everything so negative? It's like, well, because you bitch about the most mundane things and you're missing the point. A good example, here's something that I actually came across the other day because I was watching a show, and most of the time when I'm watching a TV show or a movie, I like to look up little trivia bits just out of curiosity, see if there's something maybe that I don't know or something that might add context to something. And my wife and I have been recently watching season 3 of Superman and Lois, and it came on HBO or Max, whatever the fuck. You know what I'm talking about. I'm tired of name changes with all stupid shit. But one of the story threads that they had throughout the entire season was that Lois got breast cancer. And, that's a very real life scenario that we've never actually seen a character like Superman go through. And I thought, well, this would be interesting, because this is something he can't fix. He's always going to be there to rescue her from whatever bad guy is trying to, stop her from writing her story or doing whatever. But this is something he can't save her from. He's powerless. So we get to see a very human side of a character that's supposed to be unstoppable. And I found that very fascinating. Well, again, as I said, it's a thread that goes through the entire season. Her going through chemo, her having to deal with it, and all the repercussions. And they hit so many different beats about what it would be like when you get the news, dealing with the chemo, what happens after the fact, and so on and so forth, and just all the real world things that you would have to do. Well, as I was looking up trivia for one of the episodes, you find IMDb reviews from people. And sure enough, there's a negative. Oh my God, I can't stand all this cancer stuff anymore. Ugh, I don't care. And it's like, Jesus Christ, man. If you don't like it, then don't fucking watch it. But you don't have to say some negative shit like that. This could hit home for so many people and be empowering to so many women who are seeing a character like Lois. And it's not just like, hey, we're going to take her to the fortress and we're going to fix her up with Kryptonian technology. They even touch on that. And they said, we can't use it because we don't know what it's going to do to her. It could kill her. So they circumvent that whole idea because obviously...
They explained it.
Yeah, because obviously that's where people would go. It's like, well, he's Superman. He's got all this technology. He could fix it, right? It's like, no, because she's human. So it could very well kill her. And... again, they addressed it, but some negative prick just undercutting the whole thing. I don't want to hear about cancer. Ugh, fuck you, dude.
The whole reason people create art, people create things to put out into the world, is to move people. Mm-hmm. That's supposed to be the goal. It's supposed to cause a reaction out of people, whether it makes you uncomfortable, whether it makes you angry, whether it brings you sadness or joy. Or a way to cope. It's all about how people perceive it. And yeah, to be negative, I get it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Doesn't mean you have to put it on blast everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
It's again that goes back to the whole thing that we were just talking about with these celebrities. They created art back in the day. They did things that they shouldn't have done. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that you no longer view that art? It's all about perception.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's why cancel culture has become such a big thing, because I think people realize now that all you have to do is say one bad thing about someone and it can hurt their reputation.
Yeah.
You can spend years creating a reputation and somebody can destroy it in no time at all.
Well, great example of that, and I think I saw that this past week, I saw Judy Garland trending on Twitter, and I thought, what is she doing trending? And I go to look at what it is, and someone unearthed an old movie and took a still image from it where she was in blackface. Now, we know that's wrong. We know that that's not acceptable. I get it. However, when you put context behind why she was doing it and the trauma this woman went through at the behest of a studio, they forced her into this role. They doped her up with so many narcotics, and cocaine, from what I hear, it was one of the primary stimulants that they gave her. She was strung out. She was a working actress in an old golden age of Hollywood where, a lot of bad shit happened. And a lot of this stuff is public knowledge. So what was she supposed to do? Even if she objected, she was under contract to this studio, and they were going to make her do whatever the fuck they wanted, and it didn't matter. And you're going to cancel her based on an image that, for a movie, that she probably had no control over.
Yeah. Well, in a different vein, sort of, but kind of on the same note. And there's one other thing about Judy Garland I want to touch on, because I had seen something about her too not too long ago, but just real quick while I'm thinking about this. I love how everybody gets angry about drag shows and things like that. When if you put on any old TV show or movie, like Carol Burnett show is a perfect example. How many times did those guys dress in drag?
Exactly.
And nobody batted an eye. Everybody just laughed about it because it was funny.
Yeah.
And now those same people are like, it's wrong. It's like, is it though? Is it? I mean, just because they're putting on like a live show and it's not being filmed, it'd be like if the Carol Burnett show wasn't filmed.
Sure. Yeah. And I remember...
it blows my mind.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think when all those anti-drag bills started to be drafted through so many states, I think Joe Bob Briggs put out a list of every performer who had performed in drag at one point or another, movie, TV, stage, whatever. and he said all of these people would be subject to these laws because of what you're saying. You know, whatever the law is trying to enforce, all these people would be guilty.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
Hey, I just thought of something. Real quick, if you can think about it. Name your top 2 favorite drag performances.
Ooh, shit.
Has to be a movie. I'll make it easy. Has to be from movies.
Are we talking like they have to be in drag the entire movie?
For a decent portion, if not all.
Okay. Well, John Leguizamo in Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar comes to mind because he was just... I'm going to say...
I love him in that.
Okay. So tell me he's not a gorgeous-looking woman.
That's the weird thing.
Yeah.
He is. You're like, man, okay.
Yeah. So that would be one. And that's not even to discount Wesley Snipes and Patrick Swayze. They were both phenomenal as well.
See, in all honesty, I love him in that. But my one that I would put on the list is Patrick Swayze because I've always seen Patrick, to me, Patrick Swayze was like the man's man.
Yeah.
And to see him in drag was just so out there that it just made me appreciate it even more. I'm going to butcher his name. John Leguizamo. Mm-hmm. Wow, I can't believe I said that right. Wow, good for me.
Good job.
He should have just... I feel like he just transformed into a woman for this movie.
He did.
So I'm just, like, I feel like it was no makeup. Like, he was like, just give me a second. He, like, just went into a closet and just kind of, like, did, like a Dragon Ball Z thing, like, powered up and then just turned into a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how I feel. But seeing Patrick Swayze and the Adam's apple and just big... And I love the scene where the guy is beating up on his wife.
Yeah.
And Patrick Swayze comes in and just slaps the shit out of him. So, yeah. So there's one for you. I gave you one of mine. What's your other one?
Well, this is why I was kind of teetering the line because I was trying to figure out, does this count? And I kind of feel like it does because it's about a drag performer. And that would be Nathan Lane in The Birdcage because he is like a delight in that film.
Yes.
I love him so much in that movie.
That's actually got one of my favorite lines out of any movie, and it comes from him. Mm-hmm. He's looking in the mirror, and he's like, I'm this fat, short, pale, middle-aged thing. Freaking love that. I just love Nathan Lane, though.
Yeah.
And I might get some heat for this. Now, I love the original Producers movie. Mm-hmm. I do. But they did the remake of it, and Nathan Lane is one of the main characters in it. Mm-hmm. It's him. It's struggle with his name so much.
Matthew Broderick.
Thank you, Matthew Broderick, and Uma Thurman's in it too. Will Ferrell's even in it. And I have to say, if I have the choice to watch the original Producers, which I love, or watch the remake, I think I'd watch the remake.
Okay.
Before I'd watch the original, and that's no hatred for the original. I love the original. It's just there's something about they went a different direction. They did the whole movie as a musical.
Yeah.
And there's something about that I find appealing. The songs are funny. Nathan Lane is hilarious in it. Everybody's hilarious in it, but Nathan Lane really carries that movie. Mm-hmm. And I freaking love him. I'm going to give my other one, I would, see, you're killing me here because the Nathan Lane one's like right there with the other one. But I think I'm going to give it to Robin Williams and Mrs. Doubtfire.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Because that movie was like a comfort thing for me. Mm-hmm. I know that's weird, but I really enjoy that movie. I love all the jokes in it. I love when he's cooking and he burns the silicone. He's like, my first day as a woman and I'm already having hot flashes. I mean, come on, it's great. But man, we're talking about everything today.
Yeah, we're all over the map.
Oh man, the other Judy Garland thing, real quick, that I have to say. I just saw a thing. They were giving her shit about being a bad mom because her daughter. They were showing some old interviews, and her daughter got up. She wanted her daughter to perform with her. And she's like, my mom always saw me as a competitor when we were on stage. And so my mom would give it her all, and she would expect me to give it my all. And all the comments just blew up, and people were saying, you should never, want to be competition for your kids. You should want your kids to do better. But the way she put it, the way her daughter put it, was my mom loved me, and she wanted me to do the best that I could. Mm-hmm. But, when her mom was on stage, she was Judy Garland. But she wanted her daughter to perform, and look at the career that her daughter's had. And she worships her mom, worshipped her, wish she had more time with her. So people hear these comments, they kind of misconstrue what is being said, and it turns into, oh, she was a bad mom. She wasn't a bad mom. She was just wanting her kids to be the best that they could be, so she pushed them to do the best that they could.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that didn't really get a whole lot of traction, and I'm glad it didn't, because I think that's ridiculous.
I agree.
So,
no, it's as we mentioned, all the shit she had to go through, all the history of abuse that she went through with the studio system. I mean, I don't fault her for her decisions, because she was going through so much trauma, and her pushing Liza the way she did could have been to make sure she could stand independently and do on her own, and she doesn't have to deal with these studio pricks, because I mean, you want to protect your child, so don't.
And look at what happens to child stars most of the time.
Exactly.
Like, really look at it. It's horrible.
I mean, there's so many terrible child story things that we've seen in Hollywood where, I mean, fucking look at Macaulay Culkin. His dad was a piece of shit, and forced him into so many things that he didn't want to do, that it pushed him out of acting. And he's a great actor. Yeah. But
hell, even look at the music industry. Michael Jackson's father.
Yeah.
Piece of garbage. Just money does that to people, though.
Mm-hmm.
It every so often you get good parents. Like I just had it. Mila Kunis.
Yeah.
Her parents didn't spend a dime of her money. They made sure that her money was secured, taken care of. They took care of everything that they needed to take care of with their finances.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, when she made it real big, she reciprocated it. She gave back to her family. But you do hear some good stories about some child stars, but it's few and far between.
Right.
I mean, it's just like Amanda Bynes. She was a big child star, and now she's just gone off the deep end.
Mm-hmm.
So it happens, though.
No, I agree.
It does. But man, we're sorry. I'm getting all over the place today.
No,
did you have any horror news?
I had a few little announcements that came out this week that I wanted to talk about, just in case our audience may have missed these announcements. I'm excited. I don't have official street dates, I don't think, for some of these, but I know that they will be coming soon. First are just some 4K releases that are coming up. One, I've noticed this is starting to become a trend, and I guess we can talk about it briefly, because I'm not big on these type of collectibles for my physical media, because it's just, I don't care. I mean, as long as it's got a good case, I'm fine. But steel books seem to be the big deal, and that's how I had to get my copy of Fright Night, was a steel book, because they weren't releasing it any other way, and I just didn't understand why. It's like, why does it have to be a steel book? And they always price it up, and even the copy that I got was a shit copy. I think I've mentioned that before, where there was a glitch in the middle, and it pissed me off, and I couldn't return it. But the Halloween trilogy from David Gordon Green is getting a steelbook 4K release. So if you're a steelbook collector, that's coming soon. And this one I'm really excited about, because I've been eyeballing this. Like, I've wanted to get a copy of this movie for the longest time. And every time I go to look for it, it was just like, well, kind of, I didn't want a DVD copy. I wanted a legit, good, solid copy, because I know that there have been some working prints of the film that have been kind of iffy, like they haven't quite had it all together. And that's The Wicker Man from 1973, the original non-Nicolas Cage version with Edward Woodward, I think's his name. And that is finally coming to 4K. And I'm excited as hell, because I'm gonna nab a copy of that. And if you've never seen it, it's a trip of a movie. I remember the very first time I saw it, I had a friend that I had like 20 years ago. We used to work together, and we would do movie nights over at his house. And I think that could have been a normal thing had I not been married to someone who was a jealous person who didn't want me hanging out with other people. But we're not going to get into that. Anyway, one of the movies he whipped out one evening, he's like, The Wicker Man. And I was like, I've never heard of it. But, all right, let's go. I didn't know what to expect, and it just sat with me for a while. And I love movies that can do that, because you're not 100% sure what's going on, what happened, and the ending is just, holy shit. If you've never seen The Wicker Man, I don't want to give that away, but it was just not the way I expected that movie to end. And I was like, holy shit, man, that was dark. But it was good. It was great. And I highly recommend it to anybody who's never seen it. Again, if Nicolas Cage is your bag and you can put up with his insanity, I guess go watch the remake. I never have. And I've not really heard a lot of great things about that remake either. So
It's okay.
okay, so I'm not wrong for avoiding it.
I like Nick Cage's insanity in certain films.
Mm-hmm.
It really lends itself to the movie Mom and Dad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a scene with the bees.
The bees, yeah, that's
and-
exactly the scene I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Just takes it a step too
gotta-
far. Yeah.
yeah. You don't gotta yell bees.
Bees.
Like the way that it's like bees. There's bees. Ah! It's like a simple scream would have worked. We know they're bees.
Yeah, we can kind of see them.
I mean,
Anyway.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited about that. I think that's coming a little later this year, but I'm keeping my eye on it. I know a lot of these that I've noticed that I'm getting information about. I think there's some details that still need to be ironed out, but they are announcing it. Duel, which is Steven Spielberg's first film that was made for TV, is also getting a 4K release, and I think they're waiting for some approvals from Amblin Entertainment before they can set a street date for that. But that's another great film, and for a TV movie, that's the other detail that you have to kind of keep in mind with that. There are a lot of films that are made for television that aren't really that great, you know? And I'm not saying that there's anything negative about them. Like, I don't want that bad vibe attached to TV movies, because there are exceptions. And Duel is a great exception to that, because you think about that, a made-for-TV movie from an unknown director, and it's so solid that just catapults his career, because they can see how awesome it is. It was so good that it was released in theaters in other countries because it was so good. It's a phenomenal film that's just another one of those mind-blowing, like, how the fuck? But it just works. And that's another one I'd definitely love to add to my collection. So keep your eyes on that. If I can get some street dates for that, I'll definitely throw that out. This one I read about last night, and I'm really excited because we've talked about this film on this show before. Gave it a lot of love, and now it's getting extra love from Arrow Video. Tremors 2 Aftershocks is getting a 4K release.
Yeah.
They're going back,
Nice.
cleaning up the original camera negative approved by the director and giving it some. I don't think they're doing like any kind of Dolby Atmos with the audio or anything like that, but they're I think it's like a lossless 2.0 and 4.0, so it's getting a little bit of a cleanup.
Lisa's getting some attention. That's
Oh yeah.
You know what I wish they would do? I've been thinking about this for a minute, because they sort of did this in one of the Tremors movies. The guy had like a reality show where he would hunt the Tremors. I can't remember which Tremors movie it is, but it'll come to me. But anyways, I think if they're gonna do like a TV series of Tremors or something again, I think it would be cool to almost do it sort of like a found footage film a little bit.
Sure.
But do it like it's following hunters and it's a first person perspective. Maybe you can go between the first and the third.
Mm-hmm.
But something about that would be cool. Like they're tracking it, and you feel like you're actually watching real hunters tracking a creature, but it turns out to be the Tremors, and it turns into a big thing. I think that would be cool. But
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, so is there a set date for that yet?
I probably looked that up here. I know that they just announced it, and I've got like I'm digging it up right now, but I feel like November sounded right. And so far, what I've seen now, considering this is Arrow, sometimes they'll do like these little packages, like limited edition packages. I think the things that they're offering up is like a poster, like the original poster artwork, and like a little diagram drawing of a shrieker, where it's like showing the anatomy of it and everything. And I think that's kind of neat. I don't see release date. Wait a second. And no, I'm not seeing release date.
So still a little bit of time to wait on that one.
But all the special features they've got, like I said, the 4K restoration from the film negative. You will have, the usual commentaries. They got a new interview with one of the effects designers, outtakes, trailers, image gallery. There's some good stuff in there. Oh, here we are, November 28th. Haha.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
Perfect. So, end of the year, yeah, that'll definitely be on my shelf. I can't wait. I'm excited because, like I said, we've talked about it and praised it, and I know I've got a digital copy of it, but to have it in 4K, magnifique.
Oh yeah.
I didn't never thought that we would get a 4K version of that movie. You know.
No, Tremors is one of those movies that kind of just gets shit on, and it drives me crazy because are they all perfect? No. We've talked about that. Are they fun as hell to watch? Yes.
Hell yeah. The last two things I've got are movies. Well, one is a movie and one is a documentary. One, the movie that was announced, and I haven't watched a trailer for it yet, but I thought it would be something to kind of keep our eyes on because of the comparisons that are being made, is there's a new Korean zombie movie coming out called Gangnam Zombie. I'm not sure what that term means specifically in Korean. I think we're going to have to look that up. But there was this vibe that was being talked about, like it's Train to Busan-esque in some ways. Now, from a dramatic standpoint, I don't know how true that'll be. But if they're talking about the zombies and the way that they're being portrayed, I'm down for that if you can give me a good story to go along with it. Because as awesome as the dramatic storytelling of Train to Busan is, the zombies, it reinvigorated how I felt about the genre a little bit, because I had been kind of on a downward slope. And one of the reasons that I didn't even watch Train to Busan initially was because I was so done with zombies, because The Walking Dead had just flooded the market with zombies. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, enough, it's kind of like it lost its luster. Like it just didn't have a sheen on it anymore.
It seems to be like wash, rinse, and repeat with things, because for a while, vampires were really popular, and then that fell off, and then werewolves were popular for a little while, then that fell off, and then the zombie craze. The one thing I will give credit to in The Walking Dead is there were times when you watched that show where you forgot that there were zombies, because it was a drama, really, and they did have some really cool like cameos, I guess I would say, for the zombies. There was even a Freddy Krueger zombie in one of the episodes. But I know they're doing all these spin-offs, and they were starting to show, and I hate that it took so long for them to start showing it. They were starting to show some of the zombies learning and adapting.
Yeah.
And I guess now that they're doing these spin-offs, they're going to touch on that a little bit more. I wish they would have touched on it a little bit more in the original show, but, it is what it is. But apparently Gangnam means, in Korean, it means, gang means river and nam means south. So Gangnam literally means south of the river.
Okay.
However, the meaning of Gangnam Style is cool style, as Gangnam is part of the Sao, that which has gone through high development in the past few decades, and now some of the richest people live there.
Okay. So it could be something taking place within that part of the city.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, could be interesting.
Could be interesting. So it's something I'm going to keep my eye on, because I'm curious, because I know we've talked a few details before about Korean horror and, how interesting it is. Korean cinema in general is pretty interesting. I even got a digital copy of The Host the other day, because I haven't seen that movie in a while, and it was on sale, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna add this to my collection because I want to watch this again. And that was a great movie.
It seems like anything that happened, like, I don't know what it is about horror over in Asian culture anyways, just seems to be unique to me. Like, there's a movie called The River, and it's about a giant river monster. And I think that takes place in, like, Vietnam, or I'm trying to remember. But it's a real basic story that they find this creature's eggs, and this creature goes to get its eggs back.
Yeah.
But it's all practical effects. The creature looks cool. The movies, from what I've seen of the movie, it's really cool. There's a series on Netflix called All of Us Are Dead. These kids are in school, and basically, like, zombie apocalypse happens.
Yeah.
It's really good. There's another show that's called, like, Locked In or something like that, where the guy's locked in his apartment. He's stuck in his apartment during a zombie apocalypse. And in all honesty, they're all solid films. Sometimes I'll just get on Netflix and I'll find something that I haven't seen before, and I'll just be like, you know what, I'll give it a watch. I know Squid Game's got a lot of attention. I guess I would kind of put that on the border of horror. It's more of a thriller, I think.
Yeah, but there's horror elements to it, sure.
But you want to see some good zombie movies, get on Netflix and look at some of the series and some of the movies that they have that are just like one-offs. There's a movie called The Sorrow that's on Shudder, I believe. I watched it the other day. That movie is really fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one guy, I'm just going to say it. One guy sticks a part of his body in a girl's eye socket.
Nice.
And there's a scene where there's a bunch of, I wouldn't say they're quite zombies. It's just like the part of their brain that causes aggression is mutated when they get bit. So they still have some of their, regular thoughts and everything. And there's a scene in it where this guy's trying to sneak past this area, and there's all these people covered in blood having an orgy on the floor.
Gross.
Good horror has to have an orgy, apparently.
I guess.
But, man. But anyways.
Anyway, the last thing I have, and I'm going to fuss about this just a little bit. I'm excited to see this documentary, but at the same time, I'm a little frustrated because of streaming, and I'll explain why. There's a new documentary coming out called Psycho, and it's about Ed Gein. And apparently they are going to be playing tapes of Ed Gein, I guess, that were recorded when he was taken into custody.
Yeah.
And kind of explaining the man himself and just what kind of fucked up individual he was. And for our audience who may not know who Ed Gein is, Psycho and Texas Chainsaw Massacre are kind of elements of Ed Gein, like Norman Bates, that type of personality. That's Ed Gein. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, wearing flesh, making furniture out of bones and body parts, that's Ed Gein. So both of those movies took elements of that man, this real life human being, and incorporated that into their characters. And I know that there have been movies made about him. I know that we've talked about one before that we watched, and I thought it was, done fairly well.
Yeah.
But it would be, I'm fascinated by these documentaries about some of these people because they're at a time that we didn't quite grow up in, and I've always been kind of fascinated a little bit just to know about these people and kind of what makes their clock tick, if you will. And so I was really eager to see this, but this is where I'm going to fuss. Coming to MGM Plus, what the fuck is that? So there's a new streaming service. I know I've heard of MGM Plus at some point, but I just thought, well, maybe it's just a library of MGM stuff. Isn't MGM owned by Amazon? Why is this not an Amazon Prime documentary? We don't
Just
need
trying to get
another streaming service, man.
I saw something the other day. This guy was talking about everybody wanted to get away from cable.
Mm-hmm.
And streaming used to be cheap. Everything used to be compacted. You didn't have to have a million streaming services. Well, you're still paying the cable company for internet, and you're still having to pay all this money for all these streaming services.
Mm-hmm.
It gets to the point where it's like, are you even saving?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's like, I don't need another 50 streaming services. I'll be honest. Every so often, I'll subscribe to Screambox. They don't have a lot to stream, but sometimes they get exclusives. They got Terrifier 2 before anybody else did. So I subscribed for their free trial just so I could watch it. It's like, I don't get it.
I don't either. I know that there are some...
Go ahead.
Well, kind of like you said, I know that there are some of those Screambox exclusive documentaries and things like that. I think one of them, and I could be wrong about this, but I'm almost positive one of them was Living with Chucky, and that was about the daughter of the guy who created the Chucky doll for, I think it was from Seed of Chucky on, after he took over from Kevin Yeager, and they... we're talking about her kind of growing up in that world, and Chucky's kind of always around and things like that. And I'm almost positive that was a Screambox documentary exclusive, and I found it on Vudu for, cheap. And I thought, screw it, I want to see this. I'll plop down $5 for it. And yeah, there are a lot of them. The Pennywise one, I think that was another one that
Robert Englund's documentary too.
So those are things that I would probably just, if I could find, that would be about the price of a rental, or even just subscribing for a month. Why not just buy it and then just have it? It doesn't make any sense. So
I would understand, like if I really wanted to see something right away and I didn't want to subscribe to, to a new streaming service, I guess I would look at how much it would cost to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it is just easier just to subscribe because, to rent it at home is $14-15, and then to buy it, if you buy it digital, it's like $20-something or $30-something, and it's like, do I really, do I really want to get this now, or do I wait until another streaming service gets the ability to stream it? Or, I've been running into that a lot with movies and stuff lately, and it's been a pain in the neck.
I mean, if you're already paying for the streaming service, unless you were just dying to see the movie, I can almost guarantee you can just hang on for just a little bit. Like Last Voyage of the Demeter, that's a great example. That will be on Peacock before you know it. And I hate that I probably won't get a chance to get out to the theater and see it like I want to, but at least I can feel confident in the knowledge that it'll be on Peacock before too long. In at least a few weeks, maybe a few months, who knows, but it'll be there, and I can watch it when it comes out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes it difficult because you want to support it in theater. You don't want them to say this was a failure because it's a great movie, but sometimes we just don't have the opportunity. This is why I advocate for letting people see it at home, and I know they're doing these early at home, but the moment you do that, it undercuts how I feel about it because I know it's going to be on a streaming service, so it's just like, fuck it, I'll wait.
And we've talked about how much of a pain it is to go to the theater anymore.
Yeah. So.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of wish that more theaters would do how some of the theaters around here have done it. They'll take old movies and they'll be like, hey, for this weekend only, we're gonna put this movie in the theater if you've ever wanted to see this on the big screen. And I love that. Mm-hmm. You're paying to see a movie that you've already seen before, but you're getting the chance to see it on the big screen.
Yeah.
It's like when I got to see Nightmare on Elm Street on the big screen. Never thought I was going to get that chance. Mm-hmm. And there were actually a lot of people in the theater when we went to see it. So, I don't know, it's unless you have a home theater,
Yeah, but even then, I mean, sometimes the big screen just has an allure about it. And I think that's one of the reasons people like to kind of keep it alive, because I get it. I get why you'd want to see something on a much bigger screen, but it's whether or not it's going to be worth your time if they're going to present it proper, because we go back to the theater itself. Are you going to give me a picture that is exactly what it should be, as perfect as it should be? The sound is going to be mixed properly, so I get that full experience. And then also in the hopes that you're not going to be sitting next to some rude prick who's going to stay on their phone for 2 hours, and just makes you wonder, why in God's name did you pay money to come in here and sit and stare at your phone for 2 hours? Some of us are trying to enjoy the fucking movie.
I get that.
But anyway, yes, Ed Gein's documentary, MGM Plus, I'm going to hold my breath in hopes that it will show up on a platform that I can just watch it without having to subscribe, because I'm not subscribing to MGM Plus. Screw that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Amazon owns it. I don't understand,
It's weird. I don't know. I hate having to subscribe to things. It's just...
I've subscribed to more streaming services than I expected to. But once you have them, once you have access... Because I was even thinking about that the other day. I go through my streaming services like flipping channels, like you would on cable. What's on this network tonight? Oh, it's that. What's on this network tonight? Oh, yeah, that. And that's what you do. So it's no different, but at the same time, once you kind of get locked in, once you start to find a show that you're watching, you start to explore, you're like, ooh, that would be interesting. Let me check that out. I have at least a show on almost every single streaming service that I own or that I pay for that I watch a show. And I can guarantee you, I can name you a show from each service that I'm going to watch, and that's why I'm subscribed to it. I was going to get ready to unsubscribe to Apple TV Plus, but I can't now because they're putting out a MonsterVerse show about Godzilla.
That is the one, that's one streaming service that I do not have, but I've never, I don't see a lot about it to know what all's on it. So
the only reason I had it, and if I gave you any reason to check it out, and this is the only reason I had it, was the show Ted Lasso. I'll recommend that to anybody. If you can find any other way to watch it, I don't care if you have to buy it or whatever. It's a solid show. It's fantastic. And I would recommend it all day, every day, start to finish. And it's done. I mean, 3 seasons, about 10 episodes, give or take. maybe a little bit more per episode or per season, but it's a solid show, worth paying for if you do a month. Go in, binge it, be done with it. But beyond that, I think there was another show called Severance, but I don't know where that stands right now because I've not heard any news about it being renewed or when it's coming back, and especially with the strikes going on right now, I don't know. It was good. Just the first season that I saw was a very interesting concept, but I don't know, and that's not worth me paying for more.
Yeah, I mean, we got lucky because we save a little bit of money because when we got Hulu, we had Hulu before the Disney thing happened with Hulu, but now that you had, now if you have Hulu and Disney, they like bundled it together. So we have that bundled, and then I also have Max bundled with my Hulu, and my father likes to watch movies, and I think we're subscribed to Stars and all of that because he likes to watch movies, and he doesn't realize if he clicks it, that means that he's subscribing. So we're subscribed to a bunch of stuff, but it's all like bundled with the Hulu, which is nice. And then we have, like Netflix. I watch a lot on Prime. We got a really good deal on Peacock. We have Discovery Plus, but we watch a lot of stuff that's on Discovery Plus, and they have a lot of really interesting shows. Like they have a show that's called Evil Lives Here, and they interview people who were either married to or the family of people who ended up being serial killers.
Oh.
And it like shows like the stuff that happened at their house, and like some of the people are like, yeah, he was just normal, or the one lady, she talked about how her husband kept saying he could kill her if he wanted to, and yada yada yada, and then they dug up the backyard where she would play with their son, and there were like 2 or 3 dead bodies in the backyard of girls that he had killed.
Wow.
And they reenact it while they're like they'll interview the person, they'll reenact it some, but with actors and stuff, and then go through it. But we watch that a lot. I just got obsessed with a new show. Well, it's not a new show, but it's new to me, and I've always seen advertisements for it, and I don't know if you've seen it. I don't know what your thoughts are on it. It's called What We Do in the Shadows.
Well, are you talking about the show, right?
The show, yeah.
Yeah, I've not watched the show because I have such an affinity for the movie, and I have heard that people think the show was just as good, so I've got it on my list of things to watch. I guess I'm just, how it is. You got this thing that you just love so much, and you're just like, oh man, they're gonna take it away. I'm telling you though, like,
so I wanted to see if Samantha is kind of iffy when it comes to like horror shows or movies, and this it's more of a comedy.
Yeah,
it is what it is, and it was like hit or miss with her. But I waited to watch the first episode with her because I've been seeing clips of it everywhere, and I really like the one guy that plays one of the main vampires in it. He's a comedian, and he has a really like famous joke that he does where he talks about he's asked his wife for sex 365 times this year, and then he gives like all the reasons why she said no. And he's a real funny guy. And so I started seeing clips of the show. I realized that's who it was, and I was like, I'll give this show a try. And it's literally a camera crew follows these vampires around in their daily lives. And what I think's cool about it, and I've been seeing it, they show all kinds of different creatures in it from the clips that I've been seeing. And 3 of the vampires that live in this house together, 3 of them are like Victorian style vampires.
Right.
And then you have one that is like an emotional vampire. He works at an office. He looks just like a regular guy. And he's like, I either bore people and feed off their energy, or I annoy them.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it's the clip that really told me I needed to watch it was there's a feud between them and some werewolves, and the one guy transforms into werewolf, and he's real big, and they're like, you can choose your weapons, and the werewolves are like, he's just going to use his teeth and claws. The other guy's like, okay, what weapon am I going to use? What am I going to use? And he grabs like a bone or a chew toy or something, and he throws it off the roof. And the werewolf follows it off the roof, and he falls off the roof, and he's hurt. Just like a dog, and he's like, I guess we win. So, I don't know. I'm going to give it some more of a watch, because seeing clips of it, you're seeing the funniest stuff that they're doing in the clips. So I'm going to see if the show kind of follows the same beats. They've got a lot of actors in it that I know. can never remember his name, and I know this sounds awful. He's in there's a show on Netflix. It's an animated show, Big Mouth.
Yeah.
He plays the guy that plays the hormone monster that does his voice.
Oh, Nick Kroll.
Thank you. He's a vampire in it.
Nice.
Yeah, and he seems like he's a really funny character, and I've seen a few clips of him. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a watch. Mark Hamill has been in it.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, see, you're selling me. Now I'm gonna have to start watching this.
Yeah,
show.
no, like Mark Hamill is a vampire that used to run an inn, and one of the vampires stayed there and didn't pay his like last month that he stayed there or something. And so he comes to get revenge and get his money because his debt is, there's a debt that's owed. And he's in like full vampire garb and everything. And just, I didn't know that I needed Mark Hamill as a vampire in my life, but I did. So
Yeah, no, I get that.
if you get the chance to watch it, give it a watch, and we'll have to talk about it. I'm going to try to watch more episodes, but I'm only one episode in. So if you end up watching the first episode and you like it, let me know. If you don't, let me know.
Since you brought up the hormone monster, I got to get it out. Sometimes I like to talk about like the hormone monster. It's just like, oh baby, yeah. Sometimes you just have these voices, and you got to get them out of your system. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man,
Just like the hormones.
They did a I don't know if it was a Halloween episode of The Simpsons, but they did one, and they had their own like version of the hormone monster.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there watching it, and everything he's saying, I'm saying as the hormone monster from Big Mouth, which I can't do a good impression of him, but I end up sounding more like the real old one.
Oh, come on, baby. What you talking about?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, man.
I'll do that sometimes to Katrina. Just, it's like, come on, baby. Let's go to the bedroom. Let's do some hanky panky. You know what I'm saying? She's like, please stop.
If that doesn't work, what will? I'm
right.
just saying.
I mean, come on. How can you resist that shit, baby? Come on, man.
You could be the what's her name, the one girl that he also does the voice of her too.
Yeah. Oh, you mean I know who you're talking about? Oh my God!
Yeah.
Come on, guys! That's how you have to do it. You just gotta let it out. No, the one I've actually been working on the most from that show, and it helps me kind of work out the impression. Because, look, I love John Mulaney, but he has a very unique voice. So I'll remember his character from that, and I'll just start talking like John Mulaney. I'm just like, here, I'm doing comedy on stage. And that's how I do it. I hone in on that voice.
You know what? One of these days we're just gonna do we're gonna do a whole show, and I'm gonna have you just tell me people that you can do the voice of, and we're gonna talk horror with all of them.
Okay.
I'd be down for that.
I can't help it. I just do voices. I hear them. I'm like, oh, I can do that voice.
Oh, Lord.
My
chest hurts from laughing.
It's a knack. Like, we were watching something last night where these guys were trying to mimic the sound of something, and the other person on the other side had to guess what was actually going on in the video. And as I was sitting there listening to the noises they were making, in my head, I was like, that's not how you make that sound. And I was making the sound in my head. And then I looked at Katrina and said, I could do better than this. And I started making the noise. She's like, please stop. Because it was so on point that it just grossed her out. And I was like, but come on. I mean, that's the noise that you're supposed to be making in this moment.
The next time that we make our way to you guys, or you guys make your way here, we should watch Dumb and Dumber. And you can sit on one side of Katrina, I'll sit on the other. And when they're doing the scene of, you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world, we should just be like, we can do that better, and then just do it.
I'm sure we'd both get hit in the arm.
Oh, I'm sure. Samantha would probably start strangling me, let's be honest.
We might even want to have like a camera set up just to watch their faces drop, and then the synchronization of their punches. It would make great.
We could post it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could post it up on YouTube.
Good content.
Oh, Lord.
Anyway, we have gone so off the rails.
I know we have, but I have one more off the rails thing. The next time you do the one chip challenge, I hope that you're around, because I'm gonna do it with you.
Okay, well, yeah, someone else is gonna have to suffer along that, because holy shit, that was terrible. Ooh, just brings back memories.
Have you seen the roulette game with the chocolates?
No.
They take like a ghost pepper or whatever, and they cut it up, and then they get like a concentrated syrup of one, and they mix it in with the chocolate, and all of the chocolates look like bullets. and everybody grabs one, and everybody bites one.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I like spicy food, but spicy food don't like me.
Yeah, no, it's love-hate is the best way I can put it.
Oh, man. Okay, well, we have really gone off
Yeah, we have.
today.
I hope everyone's hanging on.
We have a topic today. I don't know how far we will get into the topic. We might have to do like a few parters here.
Which is fine. It saves content for another day.
My missus and Steven's missus, I don't know how well they've communicated.
Not very much.
Yeah. My missus and I, we were talking. This was last week when I told her that Steven and I were going to talk about Freddy versus Jason.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I have an idea. And she created a group chat, and her idea was that she was going to pick 10 different pairings of horror icons to go up against one another. And that we would talk about them. And she didn't want to give us the list until the day of. And she did.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind, my wife is not a huge horror fan. I only know like maybe 2 of these movies, maybe 3 that she's seen.
Mm-hmm.
But she did her best. She did a pairing, and she wanted us to talk about it and talk about who we thought would win. I honestly think we can get through this fairly easy.
Okay.
But we've got 10 of them, and I guess we'll jump right in. I guessed the first one. She didn't say anything to me, but I knew it the moment that she started talking about making a list.
Yeah.
One of them is her crush. She won't admit it, but one of them is her crush. It's not the first guy on the list. It's the second one.
Oh.
Yeah, she's got a thing for Tony Todd. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Maybe it's the voice.
Could be.
I get it. And the whole "be my victim." She must like that.
Mm-hmm.
I should try that in the bedroom.
You should try.
But then again, that might be a little creepy.
You never know. It could be her kink.
Could be. I got a hook around here somewhere, I'm sure. Anyway. First one on the Mrs. list is Freddy versus Candyman. Now, in the realm of possibility that this could happen somehow, which I have a thought. This might be weird.
Okay.
What if someone were in the dream world and they knew about Candyman?
Okay.
What happens if you say Candyman's name in the mirror in a dream world?
Okay.
What if he got pulled in like that? I know that's a stretch.
Well, that was actually going to be my first question. How do you get these two together? Because we're talking about 2 figures that don't necessarily exist in the real world, like physically. I know that Candyman can physically manifest, but he's still a spirit.
Yeah.
So how do you do that?
Yeah. And see, that's where we run into the issue. If Freddy were to get pulled into the real world,
sure,
and at that point it would be like the Ring and the Grudge Girl, how they did that. They played the videotape near the place where the well was.
Mm-hmm.
If Candyman was to be summoned to a house where Freddy had gotten pulled physically into the world, I would probably have to give it to Candyman just because I feel like his durability would be higher because he is still more of a spirit.
Yeah.
Now, obviously in Freddy versus Jason, I brought up when we talked about that, Freddy must obviously have some supernatural ability still because of the one scene in question that we kind of talked about.
Yeah.
But we don't know that for sure.
Yeah,
So, but I feel like if it was the real world, I do feel like Candyman would have the upper hand.
Fair, yeah.
In that regard, because we don't know how much supernatural ability Freddy has, and even if Candyman was to just appear, he can manifest and disappear all at the same time. Now, if it was just both of them pulled into the real world, neither one of them are spirits. They're both pulled into the same, into the real world. I don't know about that one. Well, I don't think Candyman could compete with Freddy's fighting style. And
we would have to kind of put certain elements into place to explain how that would work, because I honestly think the mirror idea in the dream, I mean, it makes sense to a point. So you're manifesting the spirit within the dream world. I don't think that would be outside the realm of possibility, but then Candyman would then have to adhere to the dream world rules. So when you wake up and you're holding him, you take him out. So then does that mean he's not a spirit at that point? You know what I mean? So I don't know, that's difficult, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the dream world aspect of it would be more realistic.
And I think that would be the most interesting, that you could do a lot more. And if you're fighting within that realm, then I honestly feel like they would both have equal footing, because Freddy obviously has his dream abilities. Candyman is still a spirit, and he can use his spiritual abilities, if you will.
Yeah, and I feel like him being a spirit, I feel like being in the dream world would heighten his abilities. I don't know why. I feel like Candyman is sort of in the same existence as Freddy, in the regard of Freddy exists in the dream world, obviously. Mm-hmm. But the thing about both of them is you have to believe in them. You basically have to summon them.
And ironically, they both are victims of a burning. You feel like they could relate to one another in some aspect. Wrongfully killed for... Well, Freddy was not wrongfully killed.
Well, yeah. And, in all honesty, too, it wouldn't work if they were pulled out into the real world. Because if you look at all of Candyman's wounds, if he were to become human again, being pulled into the real world, Freddy's burnt all over.
Yeah.
So he's in pain, but he's not, like, completely dead,
sure,
if that makes sense. Candyman has no innards here. It's all bees. So... I don't know. Who do you think would ultimately... Let's say Dream World, they're both there.
Mm-hmm. Do
you think it would be a stalemate, or do you think one of them would have a slight advantage?
Sticking in the Dream World, I honestly feel like it could be more interesting. In fact, I would say that whoever conjured Candyman, say that that's whoever Freddy was after, and they thought, well, shit, if I can bring Candyman here, they could face off, and then they could kill one another, kind of the same idea with Freddy versus Jason, and... Perhaps summoning Candyman traps them there so they can't get out because of whatever pull that created. And I feel like Freddy would still kind of have the upper hand because it's his realm.
I feel like he would sort of do what he did to Jason. He would get in Candyman's head and take Candyman back to when he was killed.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's a fascinating idea.
But if he's a spirit, he can't die. So would he suffer from that and come out of it? And, it might not work the same. I feel like in this case, I feel like Freddy would have the upper hand, but I feel like he wouldn't be able to ultimately kill Candyman. So I think that it would be a stalemate. I think whoever summoned Candyman into the dream world would probably be pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Because the two of them would be at it. And there's no way that they would share. They wouldn't team up because Candyman, that's his thing, be my victim. He wants victims. And Freddy just enjoys killing. He got pissed when Jason kept killing.
True.
And they're both just highly intelligent forces. So, I don't know. I feel like it would be a stalemate between them.
And I feel like if you had to have a protagonist out of the two, I feel like that would go to Candyman because he could be the more empathetic character you could look at because, again, he was wrongfully killed. And that would be kind of in the same vein as Jason. He would be the person that in some ways... his backstory would be the one you'd kind of root for.
Yeah.
But you'd also have to put Freddy in a situation where how does he become the bad guy in this scenario? Because Freddy versus Jason, we see how he becomes the bad guy. And I don't want to even recycle the same idea, but I guess Candyman in some aspects could be a weapon. But I don't see Candyman being that type of spirit to do that. Like, he's not going to just take orders. Jason is manipulated. Candyman, I don't think, could be manipulated in that same regard. So...
it would be kind of cool, though, if somehow the power shifted and Candyman ended up in the dream world and Freddy ended up only being able to be summoned through a mirror.
Oh, yeah, that would be interesting.
Not necessarily a good thing,
no,
but it'd be interesting.
Interesting, for sure. I don't know, man. I think we might just have to say stalemate because there's a lot of details that would have to be ironed out to really to paint a full picture and understand how that would even work. So I'll kind of agree. A draw seems logical at this point.
And even if Freddy was to, say, take Candyman's soul, I feel like Candyman's soul would be strong enough to where we would get some kind of combination.
That would be interesting.
Like a Freddy Candyman hybrid.
Ooh, no, shit. It'd be the same hand, wouldn't it? The hook hand and the glove.
Imagine instead of the glove, each finger has
a big
Candyman like hooks coming out of it.
Okay, yeah, all right.
and he's burned and singed, so the honeycomb and the bees are in the ribs.
Yeah.
And he's got the red and green striped sweater that's torn open so you can see the bees, and he's got the overcoat on like Candyman has.
I'm digging it.
Yeah, I could see that one. But yeah, I think I would say stalemate.
Yeah, I'll agree.
So this next one, I'll just move on to this next one. This one I think's easy.
Yeah.
Jigsaw versus the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers. I'm sorry, but the Creeper's walking away from this one.
Oh yeah, 100%. Unless
you can tear him up. Go ahead.
Unless Jigsaw had time to plan for this attack. Like, there would have to be some reason Jigsaw could, because, do keep in mind, so I'll give benefit, all right? There is that window of time where the Creeper is sleeping, if you will. So if, I don't even know how they would cross paths. I don't even know why he would be on Jigsaw's radar, other than, you took someone from me and now you must pay the price, but you can survive if, whatever. So whatever the story may be, if he had time to plan this elaborate trap for the Creeper, maybe. But is that a fight? Not really. That's just more Jigsaw put the Creeper in a big haunted house full of traps, and he's got to survive.
Now, I'm thinking about this now, and yeah, I might have jumped to conclusions, because let's put it this way. If the Creeper were to come for Jigsaw, if he were to come for Jigsaw, it'd be over quickly.
Yeah.
I believe that one. However, like you said, if the Creeper come out of its slumber
In a trap.
and it was
Immediately.
down in a trap, yeah, we would probably be okay. I think Jigsaw would actually walk away from this one, because I feel like Jigsaw would be smart enough to know that Creeper needs other people. Like, if he's going out of his way to capture the Creeper and put the Creeper down here, he knows what the Creeper can do. So he's not going to have other people around for the Creeper to eat. He's going to make sure that whatever traps he has are, really good.
Yeah.
So the Creeper really wouldn't stand a chance unless, just a thought, unless, because yes, the Creeper's strong, but let's be honest, if he put the Creeper in a basement somewhere with huge concrete walls that this thing couldn't break through, be okay. Who's to say that Jigsaw doesn't want to find someone that he can truly make suffer, who has caused suffering?
Yeah.
Creeper's caused suffering for who knows how long.
Sure.
And the Creeper is basically immortal, so he could make the Creeper suffer indefinitely.
And doesn't he have like a window of time before he has to hibernate again?
For 23 days, it gets to eat.
So he would have to make sure that whatever his plan entailed had to cover a way to hold him indefinitely for 23 days. So it would have to be something that, despite, say if he broke out of this trap, he would have to have yet another set up that he would have to get through, and another. So it would have to be very elaborate. It wouldn't have to be Jigsaw alone. It would be him and his acolytes planning some big trap.
I have an interesting concept. So the Creeper gets to eat for 23 days. That's how it keeps itself working. It eats people's eyes. It takes their eyes so that its eyes can still see. It does all that. In the second movie, it gets its head blown through with a javelin. And it rips its own head off, and it consumes a human's head to take its place. But the Creeper tries to find the best of the best, because that's what it wants. What if Jigsaw were to want to make a bunch of people also play his game and suffer, but what if the game was to survive the Creeper? So obviously not all of these people are going to have the best of what the Creeper needs to eat. So we could see what would happen if the Creeper didn't get to eat top-notch produce, as it were. So we could have a weaker Creeper anyways. And all these people are in here with the Creeper, and the Creeper keeps falling into these traps. This one,
Initially, I wasn't sold on it, but the more I'm thinking about it, this actually wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, if the Creeper were to, like I said, if the Creeper were to already be awake and come for Jigsaw, it would not last long. Unless Jigsaw, put himself in a base somewhere deep underground or something, Creeper would be getting him pretty easy. If the Creeper were to awaken to this situation, I give it to Jigsaw. They're just giving the circumstances.
This actually could happen, mind you, because if I'm not mistaken, both of these are under the same studio. the question is, I don't feel like you need to explain too much beforehand, story-wise, as far as like how they got the creeper there. I feel like you start within the trap, and then you explain in minor detail beforehand how they got him there. Don't show it. Don't just be like, we heard about this creature, and we are trying to take this down, but also punish a few other people, yada yada, whatever. He's gonna look like the good guy in this scenario, but teetering a line.
I've always kind of. Are you talking about Jigsaw looking like a good guy? Yeah. I've always, as bad as it sounds, I've always kind of had a sympathetic spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, in the stories, I can see where you can. I'd love to talk about it in greater detail if we talk about the movies, but yeah, there is an element to him that's sympathetic. Like you're trying to understand, or you can in some ways understand what his motive is overall. It's a good idea in principle, but your execution leaves a little to be desired.
Yeah.
So, but no, this could be fascinating if you could work out, like, get it ironed out properly. I kind of want to see this movie now. I was dismissing it initially, but I'm kind of interested.
It'd be interesting to hear Jigsaw just be like, I want to play a different kind of game. We have different players this time.
It's utilizing the creeper within the game, I think, would be the most difficult aspect to work in, because you'd have to also make sure the traps are still kind of a part of it. But why he would have the creeper and the traps at the same, I don't know. There's little things that you have to put in for the sake of fans of both franchises, and ensure that you're doing justice to both and make it make sense from a logical perspective. I feel like putting them together is an easy answer. It's just the whys behind it and everything, and kind of fleshing it out from there is where it could be a little difficult.
I know in the original, like the movie that's coming out now for Saw, I think is a prequel.
Yeah, it seems
because
to be,
because he died in he died in the movie. Spoilers for people that don't know. If they did, it'd be cool if they did like a what if story or something like that, where he is still dying, and maybe he wants to understand how the creeper works.
Oh,
maybe he wants to find some sort of immortality, and maybe this game is to help him figure out possibly how he could become like the creeper, become immortal.
Yeah,
basically. You don't have to over-explain it. Maybe give a little bit of backstory to the creeper. Maybe he's learned a little bit about it. He's a smart guy. Just a thought.
No, I mean, that's not a bad idea. I mean, that would kind of give him motive to capture it. Not just to punish it, but also maybe glean something from its existence where he could learn how to cure his cancer or something of that nature. Okay, there's a good idea there. Surprisingly, there's a good idea there.
Right? Like I said, the missus doesn't know much about horror movies, but this is turning pretty good right now.
The more you kind of think on it, you can kind of see it.
We got Creeper, Jigsaw, and Freddy Man.
All right.
Well, number 3. This one is I enjoyed both of these movies, but they're not my favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this just how my wife put it on the list here: Ring Lady versus the Babadook.
Now, I think in the English version or the American version, she had a name, did she not? I can't remember what her name was. I know she has a name in the Japanese version, but I think it's like Sadako, maybe. I think I could be saying that wrong, or I'm confusing it with the Ring Kid, but I know that girl had a name, and I can't for the life of me. That shows how much I pay attention to the Ring. Samara. There, yep, that rings a bell. And that's probably, so I'm probably right about the Japanese one, because Samara, Sadako, Sadako, I'm probably saying it wrong. I'm still working on my Japanese.
I don't think either one of these characters would ultimately win. The reason that I say this is Samara is a spirit out for vengeance. She, kills anyone that watches the videotape. I think the Babadook would attach itself to her, because it feeds off of grief, off of misery. I don't think that she would necessarily be able to stop it. I think it would just be there with her. So I don't have a ton to say on this one, but that's really how I feel. Like Samara doesn't have a reason to stop it.
Right, and there's not, even getting them together, I don't I mean, obviously it would be as easy as just playing a videotape wherever the Babadook is creeping out at. But say, well, let's take the mother from the Babadook, the original movie. So she gets the videotape, she pops it in, she watches it, and then Samara crawls out. And then what happens? Does Samara kill her? And then the Babadook does. I mean, there's not a lot to go on here. I don't feel like there's a lot of story to really play with.
Yeah. As far as just sheer abilities and everything, I feel like if Samara was just out of, like, if somehow she was pulled out of the tape and couldn't go back in, I think she loses a lot of her. You know, is she going to stare at the Babadook and make it go nuts and die?
Yeah.
I don't think so. You know, I think the Babadook is a much older spirit. It kind of puts me in the. I feel like it's in the same vein as Pennywise.
Yeah.
To a degree. I think it's a far more powerful entity, and I feel like it would wipe the floor with her.
Yeah. I'm just. I don't know. I guess I'm not really up to date on the Ring and the Babadook well enough to where I could make a. But again, even just the basic knowledge that I have, I don't really know how that would work. Yeah, I feel like you would get the Ring versus the Grudge, where it's just the final showdown in the last 3 minutes.
Yeah, I know Samantha. I know Samantha when she gave me the list. She's like, don't think about how they would meet. Just put them in the same room together. And as far as I'm concerned, if you put them in the same room together, the Babadook's winning this one.
Fair enough. I'll agree.
Just put that out there. They're good movies. It's been a while.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. So on to the next one here. Annabelle versus, she put Poltergeist. So Annabelle in the Poltergeist house.
Gotcha.
I don't think that they would go up against each other. I think Annabelle would just be heightened by everything that's already happening.
Yeah, they would team up.
Yeah, this family would be screwed. There's no fight here.
Sure.
It's boom.
Now I do want
Annabelle. Go ahead.
I do want to ask, because maybe you're a little bit more knowledgeable about Annabelle. Have you watched any of the actual Annabelle movies?
I watched the first one.
Okay. Is she just a sitting doll? Does she ever actually animate and get up and do anything, or is she just a doll with some sort of?
She just makes things happen around her.
Gotcha.
She's not like Chucky in them. It's a demon that's attached to her. I'm trying to remember. Let's see here.
Now, just to keep in mind to our audience, I am aware of Annabelle. Like, I've seen the Conjuring movies, so I'm aware of her there, but I have never watched the Annabelle movies, and the only one I've actually heard was worth watching was, I think, Annabelle Creation. I actually heard it was really good, but I didn't know if they changed how she operated or how that worked. And I don't know if she's just sitting there. Like I said, she's no different than the clown doll in Poltergeist. She's just there doing terrorizing. Of course, she's not moving, but she's just another item in the house that's possessed.
Just kind of looking here. So the demon is called Malthus. Probably saying that wrong. It attaches itself to the doll. It is able to exist independently, but it frequently attaches itself to the doll. Let me put this. These are the powers of this thing that is attached to Annabelle. Are you ready?
Okay.
You have telekinesis, illusion casting, intelligence, levitation, dark magic, teleportation, fear inducement, stealth, durability, deception, manipulation, and evasion. Its goal is to possess its owners, and it wants to kill Judy Warren. It wants to kill all of the Warrens, honestly. Crimes that have been committed by this demon that is attached to this doll: mass murder, mutilation, incrimination, stalking, vandalism, defilement, aiding, and abetting.
So again,
a real nasty demon attached to the doll. The doll is the vessel. I think this demon would, with how powerful this demonic presence is, I think it would basically bitch slap all of the spirits in Poltergeist and feed on that power. And I think they would ultimately work together, but I think that Annabelle, the demon that possesses Annabelle, would be in charge.
Just thinking about this one and just hearing all that shit you just said, I just came up with another face-off that I think would be a little bit more interesting with Annabelle.
I'm listening.
How about, now, I'm going to say Pazuzu, the demon that possessed Regan in The Exorcist. So you have Regan in bed possessed, and you introduce Annabelle to Regan, or perhaps she had Annabelle as her doll, that it was possessed, So it's already possessing her, but then she becomes possessed by that demon, so it becomes a fight for her soul.
Man.
That could be interesting. How you play that out is beyond me, but
We had a lot with. I feel like because she got the necklace. That's what caused everything. I feel like you would have to show her getting haunted by both of them.
yeah.
Because you don't really see Pazuzu haunt her.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's just the possession. But to see them actually go up against each other
And how does that?
in a haunting
Yeah, how would that work?
sense, ooh,
It'd be terrifying if you think about it. Done right, it could be devastating for everybody.
I think we should come back to this one.
Yeah.
But I think what we should do when the new Exorcist comes out, we should see if Pazuzu is responsible.
Mm-hmm.
Let's use that as well.
Okay.
See who, because I would like to see that play out. I don't know who would win, but
Yeah. It could be very interesting in a lot of ways. That just having the idea off the top of my head, I haven't really quite fleshed it out, but I think there's a solid idea there. It just needs to be ironed out. Because what would
Right.
that be? What would that be like? You got two demons vying for the soul of a young girl, and how that could be presented narratively. I mean, it could be a stand-in for trauma and a lot of other things. It could be a real deep movie, I think. But I don't want to get too deep into it right now.
man, no, yeah, you got me thinking
Yeah,
now.
I think that would be interesting. Anyway,
This episode's going some places today.
Mm-hmm,
The next one is Chucky versus Annabelle. I'm just gonna say I feel like Chucky would try to fuck Annabelle. I'm just gonna say it. I have to put it out there. It would be funny. I don't care.
I don't know if he would. I think he would look at her and insult her.
Maybe,
You know,
maybe.
just be like, "You're not my type. You know, you're just so of a different era."
Now, I think the initial meeting between Chucky and Annabelle, I think, and just follow me here, I think Annabelle would at first beat Chucky.
Mm-hmm.
I do think at first, but Chucky always has a backup plan. He has multiple Chucky dolls.
Yeah.
But with the knowledge that he has, because he has a lot of knowledge on dark magic, and, it obviously he knows what he's doing. He put himself into a doll.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would actually give Annabelle a run for her money.
I think he would too. I think he would try to figure out how he could possibly get the demon out of the doll or possibly take over. But again, he's trying to use maybe possession voodoo against a demon that is a bit out of his range. But that would be the conflict. Like, he has the ability to fight on its level, but again, it's a lot more powerful than he is, so he would have to find a workaround. And in fact, I think it could be fun that the demon takes over one of the dolls, like a Chucky doll. And that could be one of the ways that they kind of fight, in a way, if they don't want to animate the actual Annabelle doll. But then you would also have to kind of find a way to make it seem like it's not just Chucky versus Chucky, but Chucky versus Annabelle in some aspect.
I would also like to see him maybe get possessed. Like, I would love to see the Chucky doll get possessed and maybe the demon sort of, I don't want to say completely take over his soul, but a struggle for power there.
Yeah,
And maybe after the conflict is over, maybe Chucky's more powerful.
could be. Because, I mean,
Or something
he's
thrown.
had the ability to split his soul, carve it up and put it, like you said, into all these other dolls. So, I don't know. It could be interesting. I think it could be a fun, if the plot could be ironed out properly, I think it could be an interesting story. Yeah. But I think I'd give it to Chucky.
Yeah. Like I said, at first I think he'd struggle, but then with his knowledge of voodoo and everything, and after all these years, he's just gotten more knowledge about it.
Yeah.
And it would be hilarious. I can hear him cracking jokes, like if Annabelle were to use like telekinesis to like really go nuts and like rip somebody in half or something crazy. Just hearing Chucky going, "What the fuck?" That would be great.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I would give it to Chucky. I think at first Annabelle, but then Chucky I think would pull out the win.
Sure.
And that's not just because he's been around longer as far as movies go and everything.
Yeah, I mean, again,
think so.
I think the fact that the doll has been, and I understand it's still possessed, but the Warrens have it under lock and key, is enough for me to say I think Chucky would pull out the win here, because if they can temper it down long enough to keep it in storage, I think he's got a fair shot at doing the same.
Yeah. Okay. This one is a weird one to me, but Pennywise versus the Creeper. Here's the thing. A lot of people don't know this, it seems. And the movies, they show the kids not being afraid of Pennywise anymore, and they take advantage of that. It is true. If you're not afraid of Pennywise, it does make his job a little harder. But the main reason that he scares children before he eats them is because he thinks fear makes them tastier.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Creeper would stand a chance. I know the Creeper wouldn't be afraid, and I know the Creeper would, any physical form that Pennywise would take, the Creeper would really mess up.
Yeah.
I know that. But at the end of it all, I think that Pennywise would ultimately win. Maybe not in Pennywise form. Maybe his giant spider form or whatever, the deadlights.
Yeah.
That would ultimately, I think, be the determining factor. But I don't know exactly, it's been a long time since I've read the book. And the movie doesn't touch on the deadlights like a ton. Obviously when you look into the deadlights, you're seeing Pennywise's true form. But is he seeing something within you?
Yeah.
Is what I want to know. Because you got to think of how long the Creeper's been around for. So does it turn into a thing where these two are just stuck at a stalemate where Pennywise is trying to use the deadlights on the Creeper and the Creeper's just not having it? His resilience is just too strong? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it was just, if he was just fighting Pennywise as is, I think that they would mess each other up pretty damn bad.
Sure. I think.
But good.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, because Pennywise was kind of described as almost something like a god tier entity at some point. And obviously fear is kind of the determining factor on how it feeds, how it grows in power and strength. And I understand that the Creeper is not going to be afraid, but we're also still talking about a god tier being that probably doesn't even exist in this world or shouldn't exist in this world. So at the end of the day, it's probably got some tricks that the Creeper can't overcome. And I think it could take him down easy.
Yeah, I would give it to Pennywise, definitely in this one.
How they come together, I don't know.
Maybe the Creeper's found his way to Derry looking for kids to eat, and he eats somebody that Pennywise doesn't want him to.
And you think about it, all right, okay, I just thought of it. So if you can get them in the same area in Derry, if you can get the Creeper to Derry, they also have they both have a cycle, as to when they come out and when they feed. That could be why they face off, because one is cutting in on the other's action and be like, hey, dude, this is my town, fuck off. And, they have to try to figure out who's going to survive to kill all the kids in Derry or whatever it may be. I think there's a good idea there. Because again, it's very similar.
It would be cool to see the Creeper fly down and grab Pennywise and start pulling him up, and Pennywise's jaw just unhinge like it does and just take a big bite out of him or something. That would be kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna give it to Pennywise.
Yeah, I think I would.
At the end of that one. Again, my wife has an obsession apparently with Samara from The Ring. Pinhead versus The Ring, which is what she says. But
Pinhead versus Samara.
Yeah.
I don't really know what kind of fight we're talking about here, because if she wound up in hell, which is kind of, well, no, I guess you could have someone who would have Samara maybe out of the TV, and then they open up the box and then they kind of come out. But eventually I feel like Pinhead and the Cenobites would drag Samara down to hell with them. And I still feel like they would have the upper hand.
I set it off, Mike, to you. Most of these characters, I feel like Pinhead and the Cenobites, I feel like they would own them. I mean, if you really think about how powerful Pinhead is, and I'm not just going off the movies here. I hate to do this. I'm not just going off the movies, but there are comics that kind of talk about some stuff that was not discussed in the movies, but is canon with the character. You could almost say Pinhead's a god tier entity, almost like Pennywise to a degree. And I feel like he would just grab these people, turn them back into their pre-monster forms, and call it a day.
Sure.
Like I really feel that way. I think he would own her.
Yeah.
I think she would put up I think in the real world she would try to put up a pretty good fight, but all she really has is her stare.
Yeah, and I don't see him being enchanted by that And so,
No, I just see him like, is that really all you have to offer? And then the chains ripping her to shreds.
yeah, I think Pinhead's got this.
Yeah.
Easy.
This one, I don't think this one's even an argument. I think Pinhead would just own her.
Sure.
Now this one, it says, I'm going to read this exactly how she put it. 13 ghosts, and in parentheses, all of them versus Freddy. Do not use your head and say different worlds. They are in the same world.
Okay, so what 13 ghosts is she talking about here? Is that like from the movie 13 Ghosts?
Yes, from the movie.
Okay, I don't remember that movie at all.
Well, let's put it this way. If Freddy were to get pulled into the real world to fight these 13 ghosts, aside from like 2 of the ghosts, which really can't do much, because one's just a torso and a bunch of body parts cut up, Freddy would probably get owned if he was just pulled into the real world.
Mm-hmm.
If this were to happen in the dream world, again, Freddy has all the power. Now, most of these spirits are just ghosts that have not passed on. So I don't know, it'd get into the same thing as with Candyman. They're spirits. The only difference here is Candyman is a really vengeful spirit. He's very powerful. I'm not going to say that the spirits in 13 Ghosts aren't powerful, but they are still very much... When I see the ghosts in 13 Ghosts, I still see them as very much human. Yeah. When I see Candyman, I don't see him so much as human anymore. He's accepted becoming this legend. So I think Freddy would have the advantage in the dream world. I think he would make pretty quick work of them. He'd have to figure out a way to send them to hell, I guess, because they'd just be stuck in the dream world with him.
Yeah.
Unless he took their souls.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I feel like he would be able to incorporate them into himself, since he's able to swallow souls, if you will. Not to
and I
copy another franchise, but I mean, the fact that he can do that, why couldn't he do it to these ghosts? That's all they are, just lost spirits. So he's just like, gimme, gimme, gimme.
That would give him a big boost.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think that they are, and maybe it's just because of the movie. Maybe the movie didn't really put that out there that they are, extremely strong spirits. Mm-hmm. I just felt like they were angry poltergeist type spirits that were stuck.
Yeah. So I'd give it to Freddy. I think already being able to absorb souls, he's gonna just do just that and just be like, fuck y'all,
Yeah. I'm gonna give that one to Freddy.
We're not trying to be biased. We're really trying to just look at this from a logical perspective.
Yeah. Number 9 just kind of irritates me.
Well, I'm gonna argue in favor of something a little bit to a point.
Okay. I do want to hear. I do want to hear because
there's 2 takes on this, if you think about it.
Okay. So number 9, Michael Myers versus Jason. Please go ahead and you start this one because I want to hear what you have.
If we're talking about Jason from part 6 on, Michael Myers is dead in a heartbeat. Done. No questions asked. He will fuck him up. If we're talking about Jason from Friday the 13th, part 2 through 4, Michael might have a chance. I think I might still give it to Jason because I feel like he's more of a presence, if you will. Like he's got a little bit more strength to him. But Michael has proven, he's got some, crazy strength in there somewhere. And, he's done some, I don't want to call them supernatural type kills, but some kills that you're just like, how fucking strong are you? Like from part 4, let's say, he sticks his thumb through somebody's forehead. That's some shit that no regular human should be able to do.
Right.
So if we're saying we're putting these 2 at equal levels, they would essentially be the same type of killer. A silent killer who's not been dead, who's maybe been through the ringer, but always seems to come back. I think that could be a fun fight. I don't know who would necessarily come out on top, but I think I'd give it to Jason because I feel like he's a lot more elaborate in his kills. Like he would think outside the box versus Michael's usually just with the knife and, he does a few different types of kills here and there, but when it comes to creativity, Jason's always on top of it. He's always using something else to his advantage, anything around him. So I think I would have to give it to Jason in that regard, not out of bias, but because of who he is as an efficient killer.
Yeah. Now, I just thought of something in my head just now. Let's say these 2 are legitimately locked in a room together, no weapons, and it's before Jason came back, so they're both human. I think there's trying to figure out how to word this exactly. There's one thing that I feel like would give Michael an advantage, and they pointed it out in the movies before, that he can't feel pain.
Okay.
And I feel, as weird as it sounds, they never touch on that with Jason. But there have been times where Jason's been hit in the movies or things have happened and he has had a little bit of a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sort of with you there. If it was Jason from a certain point against Michael, there is a chance that, like you said, though, with weapons and everything and with different things, at their disposal, Jason would probably pull the win out. But I feel like if it was just them in a room,
Mm-hmm.
both human, like before Jason got killed and came back, I do think there is a chance that Michael could pull off a win. I do think that. But if we are talking any other situation where they're out and in the camp or they're in a town, Jason's going to have the advantage. And if we get into Jason after he comes back, this is going to be a short fight.
Yeah, like I said, that's why I would have to advocate for it have to be pre-zombie Jason, because the moment that happens, no, there's no question about it. He's going to kill him without question, and it's not even going to be a fight. Like, all he'd have to do is just get his hands on him, and he's fucking dead.
Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting to see them fight, just because I know Michael Myers would put up a good fight.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I mean, like you said, pre-zombie Jason, maybe there's more of a chance.
Yeah.
After zombie Jason, no. I mean, people might get pissed like, oh, well, Freddy did good fighting against him. Okay, well, I'm sure Michael Myers would do a great job fighting zombie Jason.
But Freddy had an advantage.
Exactly. And Michael is human.
Mm-hmm.
He does not feel pain, and he's a hell of a lot stronger than a normal human being.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, he got killed. He got killed in a very human way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even if you look back at the old movies, like if you don't think about the 2018 the trilogy that started back in 2018, if you don't think about that and you just think about all the originals, you could still give it to Jason.
Yeah.
Michael's strong, I get it. He's powerful. He'd do a decent job. I think it would be a good fight. It would be fun to see. But at the end of the day, it'd be like if Michael Myers fought Freddy.
Mm. He's not coming out of that.
No. And even if he pulled Freddy into the real world, I still think it would be a lot like Freddy versus Jason. The only difference is I think the blows would get to Michael a lot sooner.
Yeah.
He would bleed out before it was done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he wouldn't stand a chance. All Freddy would have to do is just a few of these with his glove, and he's already got him bleeding out. I mean, again, still human. And I know where people will point to Halloween Kills and is like, well, look what they did to him at the end of that. We're not talking about that. Don't worry about that. We're talking about all this other stuff.
I mean, even in, and I always forget which one it is. It's when all the people shoot him. Mm-hmm. I mean, they shoot him a shit ton.
That was 4. They just unloaded and he fell into that well. And he still survived.
And like, you wonder about that, but then you think about it and you're like, obviously something must have happened to where he didn't bleed out, because they point out that he is still human.
Mm-hmm.
All Freddy has to do is jab him in the eyes like he did Jason and do a few other things, and it's done.
Yeah, Freddy's not going to give him a chance to recover. He's going to finish him off.
It's not on this list, but I'm going to, just before we get to this other one on the list here, I would like to see Leatherface go up against Michael.
That would be a fair fight, too.
Yeah, I think that would be more in line.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Michael Myers is physically stronger than Leatherface. I will say that. I think he is physically stronger than Leatherface. But Leatherface is a lot faster than Michael Myers is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would make the fight a lot more fair.
Plus, he's in line with strength. I think Leatherface has a lot of brute strength, where he's a bigger guy. So Michael's not going to be able to just knock him off his feet. It's going to be like, oh, come at me, because he's more like a tank.
Yeah.
In a sense. I know he's not that big, but you get what I mean. He's a bigger guy.
It would make it harder. Yeah, and it would make it harder for Michael to get a hold of him, too, I think.
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't be able to pick him up and just lift him and manhandle him, I don't think.
Especially with that chainsaw, he can't even get near him.
Yeah. I would love to see Leatherface put Michael up on one of the meat hooks.
Oh, yeah.
And then Michael just reach one hand back and just pull himself right off, and Leatherface be like, oh.
And just freaks him out, yeah.
That would be pretty cool. But yeah, I'll give it to Jason. And then this one's really weird to me. Mm-hmm. Leatherface versus Candyman.
I love love Leatherface, but I think I'd have to give it to Candyman because, again, Leatherface is human.
And this is outside his realm of possibility. Like, this is really outside what Leatherface would understand.
Yeah. I think he would be fucked with hard by Candyman to the point where he would just be doing this little number with his head, like he just can't wrap his head around it, and then Candyman's already got him on the ropes. So
yeah, this fight would be done in no time.
yeah, all he's got to do is just get inside his head, fuck with him, and then Leatherface is incapacitated.
Yeah,
sorry, I love him, but we're trying to think reality here as much as this is reality.
That's not even a fight. That's just a one and done, I think. Now, I want to bring this up because I know you and I have talked about before doing an episode where we talked about maybe doing this a few times, talking about films that you don't know if you could consider them horror movies or not. And I know Predator, we've talked about, it's more of an action movie than a horror movie.
Yeah.
I would maybe put it in like the realm of like a soft horror film, but more action. But I would love to see, and I have to bring this up. I know I talked to you already about this, like, briefly. I would love to see the Creeper fight a Predator.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool because... So, I just watched Jeepers Creepers 2 the other day. It'd been a while. And there's a scene in that where there's a dad sitting there. His son had just gotten taken by the Creeper, but the Creeper left a dagger behind. And the dad just leans his hand forward slightly with the knife in it. Well, the dagger, and it flies out of his hand, and it hits the wall, and it buries itself in the wall. And I'm like, okay, so that means that the Creeper's weapons are, obviously they're like enchanted, or they've got something more to them.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, in a weird way, you could sort of say that it's magic to a degree, like black magic of some kind. So you got the Creeper, who is this apex predator with magic weapons, who you could put up against another apex predator with extremely advanced technology. And just something about that sounds interesting to me.
Yeah.
Seeing the two of them fight, and who knows, maybe the predator wants to try a different kind of meat.
Perhaps.
I think it would be cool to do like a military thing. Don't even call the movie Predator or Creeper, like Jeepers Creepers or anything like that. Give it some off-the-wall name. Have it follow some military guys. And the Predator is going on a hunt, and the Creeper is awake and wanting to find some top-notch food, find some military guys, and maybe the Creeper's going to get somebody and the Predator kills them, or vice versa, and boom, it registers. But to see those two fight, I think it would be badass.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it would have to end with hand-to-hand combat.
I think it could be cool. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm still waiting. I keep seeing people talk about, Prey did really well. People want to see a feudal Japan film. And I saw a clip. This guy was talking about it. He said it would be so cool if, it was a sensei and he was teaching a young disciple, and then it was an elder predator teaching a young predator how to hunt. And they said it would be cool if the ending involved the samurai master looking at his student who had just killed the young predator, looking at his student while the elder predator has a hold of him and maybe is like behind him, like choking him out or something. And he takes his sword and he goes, "Death before dishonor," and just stabs through himself and through the predator. Like, why isn't this a thing yet? It would be so awesome.
And look, they could even kind of tie it in, kind of like what they did with Prey, to the there was a guy in Predators who was part of the Yakuza, and he had the samurai sword. He could have been a descendant.
Exactly.
So
and they named who they thought would be great in a movie like that. I'm trying to think of his name. The only movie that I can recently remember him in, he played Scorpion in the Mortal Kombat.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of his name.
And he's such a good actor.
He is. Oh yeah, he is.
I can't think of his name either, and I love everything I've seen him in. He's really good. But man, do you have any off the wall characters you'd like to see go up against each other?
I'm sure there's some out there, but nothing's coming to mind at the moment because I think I've just tapped out of all the ones we have.
Yeah, I feel like this could be a thing that we could do again. I'm hoping Katrina has a list for us at some point because that would be fun.
Yeah.
I know, not necessarily a fight, but it'd be interesting if Chucky met the puppets from Puppet Master.
Yeah, I could see that, and
that
how
would be
that would go down.
But I don't have anything else. If you don't, is there anything else you have? Or
No, I think I've hit the wall with my thoughts here. So
we've had a lot to talk about today.
we have. So Ramblers, who do you want to see in a fight? Who's your dream horror matchup? You can let us know on. Do I have to say X? I guess I'll say X. Let us know on X.
Yeah, formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, formerly known as Twitter, at Horror Ramblings. We're still over there for some reason. Just drop it down, tag us in it, and then we can put together a list of everybody's choice fights, and then we can have the discussion. You could even throw in your 2 cents of who you think would win, and we read it out on the show. If you want to put together an enormous list, send us an email at horrorramblings@gmail.com and let us know. We'll discuss it here. That's what we want to do. If you want to talk with other people who love horror just as much as you do, you can join our Facebook group, or you can join us on Discord in our Ramblers room. You can even find us on Instagram, where we'll post horror images whenever we think about it. I should have done that this week, and I forgot. If you're feeling generous and want to support the show, you can head on over to patreon.com/pencilpaperproductions, where if we can finally get a steady stream of things going, maybe we could do some special stuff over there, some bonus content for you to jump on. You can help the show grow by leaving a review on your favorite podcasting app. You can leave us a 5-star review and tell your friends to do the same on their favorite podcasting platform as well. It helps us grow. And if you are using Spotify, take a look to see if we posted any questions and polls, and let us know what you think. We probably will post the same question there. What's your dream horror matchup? And who do you think would win? Finally, if you need a central hub, keep up with any and all things at pencilpaperproductions.com/horror-ramblings. Links are in the show notes for your convenience.
And remember, guys, stay spooky out there. Today's show was brought to you by Hypnosil, Springwood's #1 medicine.
This has been the Horror Ramblings podcast. Join us next time for even more.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.